Hello and welcome to Dynamics Update. We are doing a recording just before summer, and with me as usual, Gustav Sundblad. Hello.
Hello, Johan. In the same room as well today, which is a new.
It's rare.
It's rare. It's not new, but it's rare. Yeah.
Yes. But actually, the last time was also in the same room.
You're right. Yes.
But
this room is the first. It's at our offices, but so hopefully the sound is okay.
Yes, we hope so. So today we're doing a regular episode with the release.
Yes.
We have 10.0.44, which is the latest one.
It's been a while, and it's of course not only because we cannot find time in our calendars, but it's also because the releases are a little bit more spread out. And we now normally do more interview episodes than we do release episodes, but we started out as a release podcast, so we want to keep doing that, of course.
Yes, of course. So I'll let you start.
Thank you. And I just start when going through the release notes in no particular order, but I usually end up doing finance first for some reason. I'm not sure why, but this time I was quite happy because I'm also currently in the middle of doing some asset migration, as in fixed assets migration. And I noticed there were a lot of new features coming for fixed assets module, which is rare. I think, I'm not sure, and there might be new stuff coming, but to me, it seems that this fixed asset module has been the same since AX 2009, pretty much. But I am not a finance expert, so there is probably more going on underneath the hood. But a lot of new features, two of which popped out, was one with the adjustment of inventory value. So if you work with FIFO inventory value models, or if you work with inventory closing, you might have, if you buy something as an asset through a purchase order and you do an inventory adjustment journal, this feature then automatically calculates and posts the corresponding acquisition adjustment entries in assets journal. So it kind of further ties the automation knot together if you're doing fixed assets and you're doing actual purchase orders through fixed assets. Another little feature which is actually connected to this, so I'll take two at the same time, is something called a budget depreciation proposal. And if you work with fixed assets in many legal entities, what this will do is it will iterate through these multiple legal entities and automate the creation of budget lines or budget proposal lines, which is time saving, and it's I think it will save a lot of people's time in those scenarios.
Yep, cool. So my first one is actually a bit out of character for me because it's a commerce feature, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because one of the areas where there is actually happening a lot of things right now is with different payment methods.
Yeah.
I mean, usually we had like cash or credit card, but that was about it. Now we have like PayPal integrations, we have buy now, pay later, like Klarna, we have in Sweden we have Swish,
yes.
We have in other countries we have similar Venmo in the US and MIPS in Norway and so on. And I think that's really interesting because this puts a lot of requirements on the ERP system to be able to handle different integrations.
Yes.
And not, especially what I like with this is that, I mean, you were able to integrate these kinds of services before, but it required a lot of like manual work.
Yeah.
You had to do things in order to get it to work. And unfortunately, that's not that eats up a lot of time in the project. So
definitely.
Being able to handle, like Adyen, for instance, being able to handle credit cards out of the box, being able to handle these kinds of services out of the box will also put sort of you will force the payment providers to actually adhere to some kind of standard because
I think the payment providers will argue that they are adhering to standards. They are in all, but there are many standards.
But there are other standards.
Yes,
I mean, they are adhering to compliance standards.
Yeah.
But you also need like an integration standard.
Definitely.
You can't do your own every single time because it doesn't make sense.
No, and as you say, a lot of time has been spent on developing API integrations basically between these PSPs and Dynamics.
Yes.
And that's just to make the actual payment work. But then you have the reconciliation, and then you have the statement posting. You have all of these very complicated financial aspects that happen. So you're very right. As long as you can tie these a little bit more into standard and get away from the customizations, that has been the story so far. I think that hopefully saves a lot of time. But there is still a lot of update or configuration to be done, I think, in these. So you get rid of the technical complexities, but you still need to work a little bit on the configuration and agreements and making sure you have all the statement posting in order, basically.
Yeah, that's what I liked when Dynamics was released and they launched the Adyen standard, was that all of a sudden there is actually a reason why all of the other payment providers should use the same protocol, because in that case they already have access. So they are not they don't have a worse negotiation position in that case. You can choose
Definitely, yeah. And I mean, it's always, as with everything, don't try to reinvent the wheel and don't try to fight the framework, which is
exactly.
To live by.
And what I wanted to bring up in this case is actually that we are getting a native connector to Klarna, to the buy now, pay later integration with Klarna, which I think is a really good thing.
Definitely. Yeah.
Which of course puts Klarna at an advantage, but hopefully it makes it so that other buy now, pay later providers are doing the same thing.
Definitely. I think there are a lot of PSP editions out there as well, and I think Klarna, I haven't worked that much with Klarna, but I think they encompass a lot of different payment methods, right? So as always, it depends on your scenario and where you're at geographically, but as long as we don't end up with 200 different ways to integrate to payment providers, I'm happy.
Yeah, me too. So back to you.
Great. Another little fancy feature here on the accounts receivable side. This is more of a technical note, just listed in the release notes, is a data update job. It's about cleaning up temporary data. You know, now with Dataverse and storage costs and everything, it's very, very important to invest time in your data maintenance. And that's why I'm also very happy to see that this is actually an update that causes the system to automatically schedule maintenance jobs to clean up temporary data for, in this case, free text and sales invoice reports. So you don't have to manually schedule those jobs anymore once this is active. And it makes a lot of sense because, you know, it's tricky to clean up data because what is data? It can be very, very sensitive data. But in this case, it's a very good use case because it's just temporary data. You're using it to print reports. You're using it to do something. But once you're done doing that, you don't need that data anymore. So normally everyone is running these update jobs or deletion jobs anyway. But this is just a way to automate that. And that's what we really should be looking forward to have. You should expect that the system is automatically tuning itself by removing this redundant, unnecessary data. As opposed to, I mean, you have a lot of different like archiving scenarios, which might be very, very dependent on scenario or regulatory compliance. You cannot delete data which is not old enough and so forth. So that's more tricky. It makes more sense to have the users or customers decide. But in these cases, very good to just introduce automatic deletion.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the things that I know Microsoft have gotten a lot of pushback on when it comes to the new One Dynamics One Platform environments, is that we don't like paying a lot for storage, of course, but we like it even less when we pay a lot for storage that isn't even our storage. That is your storage.
At least out of our control in some cases.
Exactly, which we can't affect it. So I think this is a really good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, from Microsoft end, they want a product that works as seamlessly and as fast as possible. So cleaning up all redundant data that we don't need anymore is a good plan. And eventually making it so that the customers don't even have to think about them themselves, which I think is really good.
No, exactly. And it's a prudent data maintenance sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So my next one is actually also in regards to payments. So we mentioned the Adyen connector before, and traditionally that has been for credit cards, of course.
Yeah.
Now there is a new way to pay using Adyen, and that is pay by link or pay by QR code. So that means that you can, from a POS terminal, you can actually get a QR code that the customer can scan and go to the site and pay that way, and the payment will automatically be registered and sent to ERP.
Very nice. And these are the things that you normally, as an end consumer walking into a store, nowadays you expect these things, right? You scan a QR code. In Sweden, we have Swish, so it's very expected to just scan the Swish QR code. And it's nice to see that these things are coming into play. And maybe not all markets, but it's something that you can enable. But again, it requires you to do some setup, and it requires you to have a good grasp of your different payment methods and how they map towards the actual subledger AR and stuff like that.
Yes.
So retail finance is still a tricky area for me, but it's nice that we now have some more technical capabilities for payment.
But we are back to the integration discussion, because
exactly.
this is something that we had to do manually
Yes.
before. So we send a message, we get the message, we send a message, and we had to decide what's supposed to happen.
Someone has to build the schema, but now it's more
Now-
it's more integrated, and it's the same behavior across, regardless of tenant or implementation. It's only once you have that feature enabled, the expected outcome is the same.
Yeah, so the abstraction is there, basically telling the ERP system the customer has paid.
Yeah.
You don't have to care how he paid.
Exactly.
He paid.
Exactly. That's very nice.
And that's what the merchants are interested in knowing anyway.
Yeah,
They don't want to know if it was in cash or credit card or whatever. So
Definitely, and you don't have to. If you use a provider that's not supported, at least then you have a framework which you can look at. You don't need to reinvent that wheel again. Back to the same discussion, basically. But the capability is there, but maybe the provider isn't. That's something you need to look into.
Exactly. So, what's your next?
I'm just gonna skip past this little fancy account reconciliation agent, which is a very big thing. It's very cool. It is exactly what it says. It's an agent for account reconciliation, which has historically and is still can be a very cumbersome process, part of the monthly, yearly financial process, where you need to reconcile all the vendor or customer transactions to see, have they paid their invoices? Have we paid our invoices? Why not? What is the balance, and so forth? Johan and I discussed, and we're going to have a little bit more of a deep session at the separate podcast episode where we deep dive into these agents a little bit more. But it's worth noting from a release note perspective that it's now in production ready preview, the account reconciliation agent. So I implore you to enable it in your environments and try it out, because it can be an incredible time saver, and it can also showcase a lot of these things that I see normally in finance, mainly, that there are a lot of users out there that are very, very capable people, but they do some things which they don't necessarily have to do. So it can be a lot of unnecessary time spent because they just simply don't know that these capabilities are there. So it's worth investing your time into understanding how these agents work and what they can do for you, even while you wait for me and Johan to release an episode on it. Because we will try it out, but I don't work in finance, so I might not have the correct questions. So I implore you to try them out. It's really cool.
Yep. This is sort of related to the agents as well, because one thing that's coming up in the new 10.0.44 release is something called immersive home. So the idea behind immersive home is that instead of having like the traditional F&O menu, where you choose your workspace or you choose your module, you can actually get advice from an agent or from a like an AI backend what you should focus your work on right now. So it's basically a task focused workflow instead of a application focused workflow going forward. So you will get it's like sort of like the workspaces when we got them, that you can build a workspace that says these are my unposted invoices. I need to attend to those, and so you have like a to-do list. This is more global. This is more a to-do list in the entire system, not just your.
It's a summary dashboard, right? But it's AI enabled. I think this is really interesting. It's really cool. I've seen them myself as well, and I think this is the closest we've ever gotten to that. It's been the same sales pitch, really, from AX 2009, 2012. You had Enterprise Portal. I remember it was kind of pitched as, you don't need to know what you have to do. The batch jobs will calculate that for you and assign a task for you. And theoretically, it sounds really nice, right? The system knows what I need to do because I have outstanding journals. The system should be able to tell me what I need to focus on. It's been working kind of okay. I mean, if you have an unposted journal or a timesheet approval, sure, that's simple enough to find out, right? But now with AI and with these agents, it's really possible because they can actually truncate through a lot more data, and they can look at how users have done things before, and it can provide you with the immersive home that might actually work with fulfilling that. This is what I need to do right now. this is what I should prioritize and so forth. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to see how that ends up.
So if I'm not wrong here, you can turn it on as a feature. It's in preview, which means that you can actually start using it, and you can you choose individually per user in your user settings if you want to use the immersive home or if you want to use the old version, the previous version. So I would actually recommend turning it on just to figure out how it works, because it is extremely different from what you're used to. It's very confusing. Fortunately, we still have the search bar up top, which means that we can still search for things. But I would recommend you turning it on in preview, because it doesn't do anything.
Not in production. You can.
I don't think actually it will affect anything more than your efficiency at what you do, because you're used to how it used to work. But if you are used to working with the search bar anyway, then you don't use the regular home page.
No.
Anyway,
it's more like those dinosaurs still going into the module. And
exactly.
Like not using
so I would actually recommend trying it out. So back to you.
Well, another thing when we're talking about modern things here is the modern workflow in POS and store commerce, back to my favorite area. This is something where it's more of a technical UI. I've never been called a front-end developer. I can barely draw a stick figure, so like graphical design has never been my forte, but there is it's an ongoing transition to React and Fluent design within the store commerce application. So what's being done now is the transaction page, the one where receipt lines, it's being changed to have a more modern design, or modern, you will recognize it. If you work with any web page design or anything like that, you will recognize these types of components. Basically, it's a feature where you can switch it out. You can use the new transaction page. It has inline actions, inline change quantity. There are some new product images. It looks more modern and nice. You can try it on, enable the feature. You need to be on version, I think, 44 here. I'm not sure if you can try it out in earlier versions, but read up on the modern workflows. And I mean, this is an ongoing transition, so more and more pages will transition to this. So the sooner you look into it, the better.
Yes, mine is actually also POS related. As you know, there is in the point of sale application, you are able to run offline, because if you don't have access to internet or to the cloud, you can actually have things that are synced down to your POS client, which means that you can work even though you don't have access, even if you're offline completely. The problem is that if not everything is in sync, it won't work. The problem is that historically, you haven't really known that things didn't work, that things were out of sync.
No.
So once you got offline, it just stopped working.
Yeah, exactly.
And you didn't know why. So what they have added now to the point of sale application is a toast feature. So the toast is that little, when in Teams, when someone pings you, there is a small box that pops out up down in the lower right corner. This is the same. That actually tells you that you potentially have issues with your sync. So if you do need to go offline, it won't work at the moment.
No.
And that would mean that you maybe should contact your support or something to try to figure out why is it not syncing. Try to restart.
Friendlier error message basically, but it's
a preemptive error message telling you that if you want to go offline, it will probably not work at the moment.
Okay, it's like the poor network quality that pops up in Teams, basically, that you should be you should be worried about.
Yes, but it's no panic, but there might be issues if you go offline. That's a good thing.
Very nice.
Yes.
Well, my last one here that I could find that was worth mentioning is a small feature as well. It's within the credit and collections. It's in credit management, you might want to exclude intercompany sales, or you might not want to impose the same credit limits to your internal organization than you do with your external customers. So what you can do is you can exclude intercompany orders. Now that parameter, which you would need to set otherwise on customer or order level, it's been shifted to a parameter, so you can exclude intercompany sales orders from credit management, which I think is a very normal use case. You don't want to impose the same limits, and then you don't want those orders to be flagged and put to the credit management queue, so you would have to do additional work on them. So it's just a little switch in how the system works, and it makes more sense to have it on a parameter level.
Yes. So my last one is also sort of like the POS one that I just talked about, but this time it has to do with year-end close.
Yeah.
Microsoft is building a lot of like these microservices that do things, planning, for instance, year-end closing, and so on. The problem is that since they are not in F&O, they tend to get a bit opaque. You are not able to see what they are doing.
No.
So what they've added now with the year-end close is that it will actually report back to F&O and tell you what's going on at the moment. Has it hung? Is it working? Is there an error message? Whatever. So that, and this is important because you can probably monitor it in other ways as well. But since this is a end user feature that end users are going to run, it's important that end users can
see it,
at least see that there is an issue, at least report it to someone, because otherwise they will be there and just like, I don't know what it's doing at the moment, but it's taking a long time. Could be fully okay, but it could also be a problem. So
yeah, definitely, and it ties a little bit in if you can get that to your immersive homepage, for instance. So, and I think this feature, Microsoft, we call it year-end closing, is really nice because I know a lot of finance organizations out there. It's a very long checklist that they have to do, monthly closing, yearly closing, and it's been handled in Excel and in different applications. But with this one, you actually have deep links to each, like where is it right now? So if you can get that status information to your immersive homepage or just like to the users in the system, it makes a lot of sense to.
I mean, you shouldn't have to have a separate checklist to do this. It should be your system guiding you through.
Yeah, and it is. It's just currently it's outside of the system, right? Because it needs to have a little bit more functionality that wasn't in Dynamics.
Yeah, what I meant was it used to be an Excel spreadsheet. It used to be something external to the system. Now it's actually a business process within the system that guides you what you need to do.
Definitely, and then you can enable agents on it as well, and they can help you out where if you get stuck within that process, because you can see how did we fix it last year, for instance. It's very nice. All right, cool. Well, this was great to go through release notes again. That reminds me of the reason why we do these. This is the most. It sounds very damaged to say this is very fun to read through release notes, but it is. It's just tricky to find the ones to bring up here in this limited amount of time. So I implore you to read up on the release notes yourself, because we surely missed a lot of fun stuff that you might be interested in.
Yes, of course. We usually bring up the things that we think are interesting. We are very egotistical in that way.
Yes.
So with that, if we don't hear from you, then have a great summer until we meet the next time.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.